That's because you drink decaf.
I know,
You
that's
only live once.
true.
Drink the Coke, eat the cake.
Yes.
That's right. I agree. My dad always used to eat dessert first. That's how we grew up. He said you might be too full to eat it after dinner.
I'm with him.
Well, it is the fabulous 9:30 hour. I'm going to go ahead and introduce our speaker. Barbie Jenkins, author of Burying Jane No More, regional representative for Jane Doe No More, avid advocate for victims, victim impact panel speaker, amazing mother and wife, and a sexual assault survivor. Barbie's journey through the Montana criminal justice system has revealed some very positive aspects and compassionate people and some very re-traumatizing processes and experiences. Please join us in welcoming Barbie. Thank you, Barbie, and it's all yours.
Okay, well, thank you and good morning, everybody. Hope everybody is doing good. So a little bit about Jane Doe No More to begin with. It was founded in 2007 by Donna Palamba in Connecticut. After about a 15-year fight of trying to regain what was stolen from her after an in-home invasion rape. And you can read her book. There is a slide further down the road that has her book on it. It's called Jane Doe No More. She was a featured story on Dateline NBC, and her case was the reason why the statute of limitations was removed in Connecticut. And she fights for survivors to have a voice and for fair treatment and treatment with dignity and respect throughout the judicial system. So she's a bit of a hero for me, and I very much adore her. So with that, we'll just go on. Hope that this works for everybody. Okay, so I apologize for the grainy picture. I kind of stole this off of a website. It didn't come out very good in my presentation, but it kind of gives you an idea of a bunch of different of the survivors that are involved in Jane Doe No More, and most all of these are Survivor Speak team members. Just a little aside, most victims of sexual crime suffer in silence, and Jane Doe No More helps victims find their voice. And how we do that is always by starting by believing. And I know a lot of you have probably attended the last EVAWI conference, and that was the theme, Start by Believing. And it's actually, it should be the theme for everybody whenever they're investigating. We do that by listening to each other. There's a lot of power in being able to speak about your trauma without being judged and without being afraid to speak out. And we don't try to fix each other. And we're not counselors, we're just survivors, there for survivors. And Brene Brown has this video on YouTube you can look up. You're probably familiar with it, Empathy versus Sympathy. And there's a huge difference between the two. And I think that Jane Doe No More's Survivors Speak team does a pretty good job of the empathy versus sympathy. There's a lot of companionship, as you can see, a lot of friendships, a lot of deep friendships that are made, and just a lot of good support. One of the things that is wonderful about it is I went to Connecticut back in March, and I was sitting visiting with some of the ladies and gentlemen in Jane Doe No More's Survivor Speak team, and something was said to the effect that, when you're together, you don't necessarily have to talk about your trauma. You can just be with each other, which is nice, because a lot of times if you go out, if you haven't seen, like I had family that came and saw us recently, and they kept on bringing it up. It wasn't me that was bringing it up. And so it's kind of nice that you can sit with each other and you know each other's story. It doesn't have to be talked about, but if you do want to talk about it, it's okay. So that's been good. Training. There's a lot of training that's provided for all of us so that we can go to you guys and talk to you. And then obviously we have all of the reference material that all the other organizations use, RAIN. And for me, it would be the YWCA and the University of Montana SARC program and the Crime Victim Advocates Office, things like that, First Step. So anyway, this is Donna. And as you can see, she's an incredibly beautiful woman. And the slide says, today I'm blessed to work with an amazing team that shares my passion. Jane Donamore is empowering survivors to find their voice, advance their healing, and educate others. As we grow in strength and numbers, our collective voice gets louder. What started as a whisper when I was barely able to speak has grown to a roar. There is no stopping us now. And that's true. Donna is a very encouraging and loving person. She's sparkly, like you can see in the picture. So one of the things that I kind of like to talk about when I talk about Jane Donamore, there are a lot of survivors that are adult survivors of childhood sexual assault. And so I thought it would be best to go ahead and talk a little bit about this. Here's a picture of 4 children in the 70s, and they look, like you would in the 70s. That's my sister Diana, me, my brother David on the left, on the right of me, and then behind us is our brother Bill. 3 of the 4 of us were molested by our stepfather, and I look back at that a lot, and I think that if people had seen the signs back then, or if we had talked about it more back then, maybe it wouldn't have gone on, or it wouldn't have gone on as long as it was. But these are the things that you can look for: behavioral changes, withdrawal, poor self-image, poor hygiene, change in grades, nightmares, and acting out in sexual ways that you wouldn't normally act out at that age. And so it's just something to be aware of. Many adults were kids when they were assaulted, and Jane Donamore helps those people. There was somebody that was in my class when I went through the training for Survivor Speak Team that had just only realized that she was a survivor of childhood sexual assault. So it does come out eventually. I was talking to somebody, I was on a victim impact panel on Friday, and one of the inmates there told me that his wife was molested as a child, and it's just now coming out, like she had suppressed it. And so that does happen. And so that's one of the things that we talk about. There's no time frame for a survivor to come forward. And I think that's been a really difficult thing to educate people on, and Jane Donamore focuses on that too. Any questions this far? Okay, a little bit about me. So I have the heart of a servant, and I always have. These are just some pictures that were taken when I volunteered at the rescue mission in Missoula. And I had a very, very good relationship with the homeless community here. And that's when I met my perpetrator. And so I think that when you look at your own traumas and stuff like that, you can always look back, and everything is like a little bit 20/20. Hindsight's always 20/20, but the future is blind. And so if I had thought a little bit about some of the things that I saw and experienced, maybe I wouldn't be in the situation that I am now, or I wouldn't be talking to you. I don't know. But I do know that when you take a bad thing and turn it around, it can help a lot of people, and that's what I'm doing. But I just wanted you to see a little glimpse into my past of who I was before this assault took place. So my good friend Liz and I, and I just want to say that not all people are going to appreciate your good intentions, and so it's easy to get hurt by things like that. So one of the things that was said to me prior to my rape was, "You're a good lady." And so You talk about triggers with survivors, and one of the things that's really triggering to me is when I hear that, oh, Barb, you're such a good lady. I just hate hearing it. You know, it may be true, but I don't like hearing it because it's a trigger to me. And those are the things that happen to survivors. You know, they have maybe a scent or maybe a color or a body build or something somebody says like, you're a good lady. So there's all sorts of different little triggers out there. Little bit of awareness and statistics. A lot of you already recognize the statistics. You know, 1 in 3 women by the age of 18, 1 in 6 men by the age of 18 will be assaulted. Usually they know the person that assaults them, and less than 1% are actually convicted, which is a really small number. I was going to look up the statistics in Montana and tell you what the number was, and I actually have it in my book, but that was written almost 4 years ago. So I know that the numbers are different than what they used to be, but we know that it's underreported, and so you know, you can take what you do know and you could probably magnify those numbers by quite a bit. Anyway, less than 3% are false reports. And, you know, those are the ones that get the attention in the media. But again, it goes back to believe, believe, believe. And that should be your first response to anybody that comes to you and says that they've been assaulted, is to believe them. You don't need to ask them about what the details are of what they went through. They don't need to tell you. They just need to have somebody believe them and be with them. Most rapes occur in the first 3 months of college. My husband was telling me last night that there's already been a rape on campus here, a date rape, drug rape, just happened in the last week. And so, you know, trying to educate our youth so that they, you know, we have to unfortunately teach our girls how not to get raped instead of teaching our boys not rape, which I think, you know, is a discussion that needs to be a little bit more prevalent in our society. But unfortunately, right now we're teaching our girls how not to get raped. And also, most of them are not reported. And so it's a sad thing that, you know, that there's not enough support out there for girls or for boys that have been sexually assaulted, that they feel like they can be comfortable coming forward. There's a lot of fear out there. I know in my case, there was a lot of fear. I didn't report right away. I sat on it for almost 24 hours. Well, I did sat on it for 24 hours before I actually reported it. And I was weighing what I knew was coming down the road versus, you know, can I keep this to myself and just live with it? And so at that point, I knew that I couldn't, and so I went ahead and reported it. There's a higher rate of Indigenous sexual assault than any other in our state, and there's also a lot less help for the Indigenous. And so I know that we're working to fix that situation. And there's a lot more visibility right now, which is really good. And,
Yeah, you're right. My kids still be there.
okay. Anyway,
I believe I've muted them. Sorry, honey.
That's okay. That's all right. It happens. So on that note, you know, this is my hero. And I don't know where I would be if she had not believed me. The whole team at the county attorney's office in Missoula was exceptionally good with me. The detective was exceptionally good with me. There was a lot about that time that I didn't understand going through it. Like, you know, when you report the rape, you think, okay, I've reported it, so they're just going to go out and arrest the guy right now, and that's not how it happens. And I think that, you know, maybe there's something to be done about that we can teach people a little bit more. Like, it's really not how you see it on TV, and it takes time, and they have to build a case, and they have to figure out whether or not this case is viable, like they can actually prosecute somebody, and, you know, what are their chances of winning this case, and what's going to be the outcome, and all of that. Jane Donamore has got this wonderful video that all of you should go to the website. It's janedonamore.org or jdnm.org, and click on the Duty Trumps Doubt video. And it speaks specifically to first responders. And, you know, one of the ladies that's in that video said, you know, she didn't act like a rape survivor. And so I really didn't think that she was raped, but then the guy actually admitted that he did it and gave the details exactly like she did. And so it was a lesson to her that her first line of defense in anything at all is to believe the survivor. And one of the things that I experienced was, you know, outside of the county attorney's office, because I'm not talking about them, but was a lot of victim blaming and a lot of victim shaming. And, you know, I shouldn't have gone down to the park that day. You know, how long had I reached out to this person? Why did I reach out to this person? Why did I do the things that I did? Instead of why did he do what he did? And so that was really difficult. But I think just keeping that in the forefront of your mind when you're talking to somebody that's just been raped is, okay, I need to believe this person, because if they're not telling the truth, it's going to come out. It just will. So just start by believing. Anyway, Jane Donamore is working all the time with lawmakers, trying to make things better for survivors. I have a goal of holding defense attorneys accountable, and having a victim liaison at the Supreme Court level, which I'll talk about a little bit more later. After my trial was over, I shouldn't say my trial, but the trial that I was involved in was over. I decided that I needed to give back to the people that had given to me, and so I reached out I started healing by helping, and so I raised $4,000 and I gave them to First Step YWCA, CVA, and the University of Montana SARC program, so that I could help other people that would be in my shoes, because I didn't want them to suffer. But this was just a picture from the day that I was able to give that money to them. It's really a very special thing to do. And I think when you do have the heart of a servant like I do, being able to help other people is a very powerful and very healing, very cathartic thing to do. I found Jane Donamore on the website. I was actually very suicidal, and so I was looking through, just searching the internet, trying to find something that could help me, that I could feel like I was connecting with other people, because I felt very alone. I know that there are a lot of survivors out there, but I didn't know how to connect with them. And I found a quote on the website, and just as I was scrolling through, and I went to the Jane Donamore website, and I found out that they have a survivor page on Facebook specifically and only for survivors. It's called JDNM Survivors, and you can search it on Facebook. You can't see the post in there because you have to, it's private. And if you are a survivor, then this is a good place for you to go and find support and friendship and companionship, and, blow off the things that you're going through. And so that's exactly what I did. I went there and I said, is this really private? And they said, yeah. And so I learned a lot about survivors during that time. And I kept asking, have you guys thought about coming to another state? Are you in other states? And they do have survivors throughout a couple of other states. I know there's one in California. Somebody just moved. I think that there's somebody in Colorado. Anyway, I'm in Montana, and they said, well, why don't you come to Connecticut and train? And you can be a Survivor Speak team member and take it back to Montana. And so that's exactly what I did. So I went there, and I was very proud and happy to get to meet Donna and to get to train with the people that were training us. I was a professional speech coach and a professional therapist that were there with my graduating class, and it was a very difficult process to go through, but it was, because it was quick. The way that they do it in Connecticut, is they do it one Saturday all day and then the following Saturday all day. But since I'm in Montana, I couldn't do it that way, so I finished the second week virtually, and it's been fine. It's worked out great. Anyway, one of the things that I learned while I was there was the Safe Student Initiative, and this was the first time ever that I gave the presentation. And I went to Sentinel High School in Missoula, and it was a very empowering day. I think I spoke to 8 different classes that day, and I talked to them about the Safe Student Initiative, which educates students from middle school to college with age-appropriate survivor-led interactive programs, including safe and unsafe touch, sexual respect, healthy relationships, consent, bystander awareness and intervention, and rape culture. And it's a 30 to 90 minute interactive presentation, depending on your audience. Mine were on the more 90-minute side of things because that was one of those days where they had block days, so it was good. There's an overview of sexual crimes. And then, of course, you know, being a firsthand survivor, they got to hear my story, and I put it in about a 10-minute condensed version of what happened. And then we talk about recognizing healthy and unhealthy relationships and the importance of setting boundaries, ways to identify and intervene safely if you witness potentially dangerous behavior. And for me, those of you that have heard me speak before, you know that that's a big part of my story, because there were 3 people that walked by on the walking path when I was being raped down there in the park. And you know, it's been 6 years in October this year, and to this day, I still have a hard time understanding how anybody can just walk by somebody when they're being raped and not say something or not do something or not, you know, at least try and figure out what it is that they're seeing. So I like to talk about that one in particular. Understanding what it means to give and receive consent. I spent a lot of time on consent. And there's an amazing video. Some of you have probably seen it. It's called Consent Tea. There's a clean version and a dirty version. So I usually try to use the clean version, you know, no cussing in it. But it's a very fun video that you present consent in a, yeah, that's really stupid. I mean, so simple, stupid that you can't not get the point. And so I love to do that. And then we talk about the resources that are available to survivors. And so that's basically what the Safe Student Initiative looks like. The first time that I gave it, when I was at Sentinel High School, I had a woman come up to me through gritted teeth and tell me I had no business talking to students about sexual assault. And I thought, I beg to differ. I'm a survivor, and I've been a survivor for over 40 years. Now it's been 48 years since I've been a survivor. And so I think I have plenty of experience to teach this. So anyway, I was privileged to get to go to this conference in Kalispell and talk to district court clerks about Jane Doe No More, and we spent a lot of time talking specifically about the duty trumps doubt thing. And you know, that part of the program is specifically geared towards first responders and those that are involved in the judicial system. And so I highly recommend, like I said, to go and watch that video if you haven't seen it. Some of you may have seen it already, but it's always good to use it in your library to train people with. One of the things that I got to do with a bunch of wonderful people was a panel discussion at the University of Montana on the complexities of sexual assault. I had a trauma expert named Rebecca Weston, and some of you may have known of her. She's the lady on the left there of Susie. I had Susie Boylan, the county attorney. Donna was there from Connecticut, Donna Palamba, me. And then I had a rep from the SARC program. The director wasn't able to be there. And then I had Mary Pat Hansen from First Step there. And it was emceed by Heidi Miley, which was just a really neat experience. We had the worst weather that we could have had that day. And I actually gave Donna and my friend Tina a ride into a ditch. in the snowy weather, but we still had a really good turnout and a really healthy discussion, and I think it did a lot of good. So this is the type of thing that Jane Doe No More likes to do too. As I said, Guy Baker was there, and he's a good reference to have, especially for sex trafficking, and you all know who he is. So, but it was just really neat and very special to me to have him on that panel. One of the wonderful things about Jane Doe No More for me has been the collaboration with the victim liaisons and Jamie from Victim Services. You know, the relationship that we have together has been very powerful. They've been very supportive to me, and I know that they would be supportive to other survivors if they were to join Jane Doe No More's program and become a Survivor Speak outreach team member too. But also, you know, just champion my story, you know, and giving me the opportunity to heal by telling people more, you know, and teaching them how to act when somebody comes to you and says that they've been assaulted. It's just been a really, really good thing. We talk a lot about how we can heal as individuals, and so we encourage each other to find ways that we can heal. For me, the log that was down in the city park that I was raped up against, I wanted it gone because I didn't want there to be a trophy for him, because I knew that eventually he would get out of prison and, you know, maybe return to that spot. And I didn't want him to have something, you know, like a lot of predators keep something of their victims, or they keep mementos of their victims, and I didn't want him to have that. And so I went to bat with the city, the county, and the state to get that log removed. And it was funny because the city said, oh, it's not ours, it's the county's. And the county said, well, it's not ours, it's the state's. And the state said, it's not ours, it's the city's. But eventually it finally was destroyed, and that is what's left of that. And so I put flowers there to honor Jane Doe on the anniversary of my rape. And that's one of the things that I do every year. On the 12th of October, I find some way to honor Jane Doe in me, because she's now a part of me. I didn't ask her to be a part of me, but she is a part of me now. The other ways that I do it is spending time in nature. On the right-hand side there, you see me with my bare feet in the grass. That's called grounding, and I actually did that just the other day because I had accidentally run across a couple of photos of my perpetrator that I wasn't expecting to see, and it rattled me a lot. And I had a panic attack on Sunday, and I just felt like I needed to figure out a way to ground myself. And so I went outside in my bare feet, and I just sat down on the grass and just you know, soaked it up. It's just kind of healing to be in tune with nature. And then one of the other things that I've done in the past was run, and running for me has been very cathartic. So we encourage each other to find creative ways that they can be empowered so that they can empower others. And so, you know, as I said down on the bottom of this screen, it says facing the past heals our futures, and it really does. And so we're always in the process of facing our past. Some days we don't want to face our past, but our past comes to our face and we have no choice. And so then we are stuck with, you know, okay, how do I ground myself again? And you know, you do the 5. What can I see, hear, feel, smell, taste? And, you know, just different things like that. And so that's what we do. We encourage each other to find ways, and we share our healing experiences with each other. I got to go to Connecticut after I was trained, and I went to their gala, and it happened to be the night that they were honoring the gentleman that trained all of us speakers. And so I got to speak a little bit, which was really fun. And of course, that's a picture of Donna and I. And her story is very, very similar to mine, but it's extremely different too. And so, you know, like it just illuminates the fact that we're all individuals, but we all have our stories, and they're all valid. And so we work together to be that voice to change things. So I had a burning desire to bring Jane Doe No More to Montana. That's why I went and got trained. And so then I started working on trying to find other people in Montana that wanted to be Survivor Speak team members too. So this is Don and Diane Smith, and Don is the speech whiz, and he is the one that teaches all of us to be able to speak at these activities that when we do a safe student initiative or a duty trump stout or you know, we're just there to tell our story. He teaches us how to do it, how to put it together, how to you know, create our story where you feel the feelings that we're feeling, but you know, do it in a very concise time frame. When I speak for the state, I don't speak concisely because I'm asked not to, and it's actually very powerful both ways. So Diane, she's a sweetheart. She's a very upbeat and friendly and loving person, very supportive person, and she's the professional therapist that we have at all of our trainings. So I got to do the first training in Montana, and that was in 2019 in the summertime, and we had the best time. Some of these girls here are the ones that joined us, and you know, it's very much like a second family, and for some it's their only family. There are a lot of survivors who have absolutely nothing to do with their biological families because their biological families are the perpetrators. And so as again, like I said before with Jane Doe No More, you're never alone. And so that's why I've loved the organization as much as I've loved it. And this is the first graduating class of Jane Doe No More Montana. And you know, we became very close in that weekend. We didn't do it over a 2-week period of time. We actually rented a big farmhouse out in the country away from town, and we stayed together, and it was very special, and there was a lot of bonding. You can see that we're all very bonded together, and that was a very special time. And I think every single class that goes through training becomes its own very special little group, you know. But then, you know, it's opened up to, it's not like just a clique like the Montana clique. It's not that way. So if all of these girls were to go to Connecticut with me, they would be welcomed with open arms by everybody and just loved on, and it's really cool. So it's a family. Community events and support is very key to the success of this organization, and there have been a couple of places in town that have offered to do pint night for me, and this one happened to be Imagination Brewery, and we had a bunch of musicians that came out and donated their time and their talents to this effort, and it was just a very, very special evening where I made a lot of really neat friends that I think will be in my life for quite a long time to come. As I said, running is one of those things that has been very cathartic to me, and I had 2 different marathon teams since becoming a Survivor Speak team member and bringing Jane Doe No More to Montana. I wanted to do something visible so that people would see that Jane Doe No More is here and that we're here for you. And so this is only part of the team. This is like half of the team. These are the 5K runners and walkers. And then the next day we had the half marathon and the marathon. And I think that there was probably 36 or so people on my team that year. It was amazing. It was just very, very fun. You see, I have that knee brace on. I have unfortunately had a lot of physical issues in my body. I'm obviously heavier than I used to be. And I think part of that is trauma, but you know, I'm working on that. I just had knee surgery a month ago, and I'm going to have knee surgery on the other one in another month. And so hopefully I'll be up and running again. If I'm not running, at least I'll be walking, because I've got at least one more half marathon in me before I die. And this is my second marathon team. Again, I had a lot more people than this. This is just where I could find that morning. And I had people that actually ran the full marathon that year, and I had a lot of people that did the 5K. And then my niece on the very, very right there, she did all three. She did the bear run on Friday night, she did the 5K on Saturday, and she did the half marathon on Sunday, which is a lot. So anyway, it's just a very fun thing to do, and I'd like to see Jane Doe No More have more and more of a presence in Montana in doing things like this. I raised, by the way, about $6,000 or $7,000 through those marathons. So, and that all went for services here in Montana for rape survivors. One of the other things that we've done is nonprofit nights at different things. This happens to be at what was formerly the Osprey, which is now the Paddleheads. But that was a fun thing, a very visible thing where we were out in the community, and people could get my book if they wanted to, get Donna's book if they wanted to. We had those tumblers, the Jane Doe No More ones, and we had just a lot of information to give to them, and little spotlights. So it was pretty cool. I also want to say that Jane Doe No More is not just for women, and these two men are good friends of mine, and I just my hat is off to the men that have the courage to come forward and say that they were sexually assaulted. I will tell you that when I go and talk to the inmates on the victim impact panels, almost every time a man in that group will tell me that they were sexually assaulted as a kid, and being able to rise up from that as a man, it's so hard because there's such a stigma attached to their macho image, and guys can't be raped, and it's just not true. And so seeing these guys rise up and have the courage to talk about their own stories is just it's very humbling to be around them. So anyway, Jane Doe No More is not just for women, it's for men too. And we are, just like I said, survivors for survivors. That first picture that I showed you of me and my siblings, this is what they are now. This is what we look like now. My brother, he suffered a lot with a bunch of different things in his life. He's been in and out of the judicial system. A lot of people do turn to crime if they are left without any kind of healing support as they're growing up. And he did slip through the cracks, and so he's not locked up right now. But it's just been a really hard thing. My sister, she turned to alcohol and became an alcoholic at the age of 11. And she didn't get dry until about 10 years ago. So she's 56 now. That's a long time to bury your pain. So anyway, they're both members of the survivor page on Facebook. And it's nice to see my siblings and I have the courage to go forward and say, you know what, I'm a survivor. And it's good, just good to support other people. And I just think that there's power in healing. I talked a little bit about the laws and what we, Jane Doe No More is working with different lawmakers and in legislation and trying to make things better for survivors. And at some point, I think that this picture was taken in 2019, but the question was asked, what would my law be? And I said to hold defense attorneys accountable with strict guidelines against bullying tactics used during the interview process, resulting in the mental re-injury of victims. Because the way that I was treated by the defense attorneys in this case was atrocious and very, very damaging. Donna, when she talks about how she was re-victimized by the police detective, the lead police guy anyway. And he had told her, that she, her Miranda rights were read to her, and she was going to lose her reputation and her kids and her family, and, and and it was all based on a rumor, which wasn't true, you know, but even so, just, you know, taking things and just conjuring them out of the air to hurt somebody, to try and make somebody look like they didn't do what they did is just very wrong. And so I think that my law would definitely have to do with stricter guidelines. There is a, you know, there is a right to victims to be treated with dignity and respect, and that was not upheld in my case. Even during the trial, you know, one of the defense attorneys asked me if it was flattering. You know, that's just not dignity or respect. And so those are those things that I like to point out, you know, so that we can change that, because nobody should ever have to go through something like that. So that's what I'm working on. Plus, as I said earlier, I'm still working on ways to try and figure out how to get victim liaisons at the Supreme Court level. This was another pint night that I had at the Thomas Mar Bar in Missoula. A funny story, the guy that was introducing me that night, he said, "This is Barb Jenkins from Jane Don't Know More, the ladies of the sexual assault." It was kind of funny, but anyway, it was a very wonderful evening, and it was just fun to get out there and be the face for Jane Don't Know More. Media has been a really big part in what I've done here in Montana. I've been on Peter Christian's KGVO Talkback Live show several times, and this time I got to be there with Donna and with Tina Dambowski, who's from Connecticut, and you know, just being able to talk about what we are and who we are and what we're doing, and you know, have the media behind us like that has been very helpful too. Anyway, moving on. Another way for cathartic healing for me has been writing my book, Burying Jane Doe, A Journey of Courage and Strength. And like I said, we encourage finding healthy and cathartic ways to heal. It's very easy to find unhealthy ways to heal, and very difficult to get out of those unhealthy ways to heal. And so, you know, the sooner that you can deal with your trauma, the better. And, you know, I just think that having a supportive family of survivors around you is key to being able to heal quicker. Uh-oh. Sorry. This is Donna's book, and you know, I said when your heroine becomes your cheerleader and friend, you want to excel and do good things with them. This is Donna, and she's so sweet, you guys. Next time that she comes to Montana, if you have an opportunity to go wherever she is and meet her, it's very well worth your time. She's just such a bubbly and beautiful person. But her story is heartbreaking. Once you start reading her book, you probably won't be able to put it down. And I do encourage you to get her book and, you know, put it in your library. There's just a lot of strength and courage in her story, and I'm just very proud to know her. Several different ways that we have talked about to other survivors for healing happens to be in art. It could be song, it could be dance, it could be in nature, writing, acting, reading, teaching others, speaking, kayaking, doing anything in nature. So those are just some ideas that we share with each other, and, you know, and include each other in. And so it's not just all about communicating to the public, but it's also about how best to heal yourself. This is one of the things that they did in Connecticut, and one of the things that I actually did here in Montana. Decorating these rocks, these are all really positive messages. And I asked the question, what does healing look like to you? Just being able to send a positive message out there to somebody that might need it. You know, who knows, maybe somebody's walking across the Higgins Street Bridge and they're thinking that they want to throw themselves off it, but then they see the rock that says, love yourself, to thine own self be true, hope, things like that. It might be something that would help somebody to hang on. And so I actually painted a whole bunch of rocks, and I put them all over town in Missoula, along with white and yellow carnations on cars with a little note that said, I just want you to do an act of kindness for somebody else today in honor of all sexual assault survivors. And that's what I did a couple of years ago on the anniversary date of my attack. So, just different things that you can do to be healthy. These are some of the warriors in Connecticut, and we are all different ages and different sizes and different races, and we just, we love each other, and we're really good friends, and there's just that wonderful support. The picture on the left is Donna and Tina and I, and that was the weekend that we did the panel discussion. But it's just, to show you guys that there really is deep friendship that can be made in this organization. And, generally when I talk, I don't cry. I did break down on Friday at the victim impact panel, but it wasn't because of the assault. It was because of the love that was shown to me by other people, and just being supported like that. So it's very healing when you can talk about it. And like I said here, you know that you're healing when you can talk about your trauma and not break down and cry. And most of us don't break down and cry anymore, and it's very, very good. Shortly after, after the attack on me, I tell people, and this is very true, I probably cried nonstop for about 3 months, and I had the driest skin I've ever had under my eyes, which, has never really fully recovered. And just a lot of pain that you go through, but, being able to actually release it in a healthy way and being able to help other survivors is just amazing. And I'm very excited to be able to do that, because I feel like, again, I have that heart of a servant. And so being able to help other people is very healthy and very healing. Just a couple more fun pictures of my survivor friends in Connecticut. This lady, I got to tell you, in the blue, she is a police officer in Connecticut. She's also a bodybuilder. She is one of the kindest, sweetest women that I've ever met, and I just adore her. And I can't wait. She's going to come out here to Montana and spend some time with us. And so I'm really looking forward to that. She's very intimidating looking, but she's actually one of the sweetest people I've ever met. So I just want to say, you don't know what people are going through. You wouldn't know by looking at her that she's a survivor. I have mentioned the Supreme Court a couple of times. Supreme Court reversed the conviction of my perpetrator and left me reeling. And I have this picture of most of the liaisons and Dan and Jen back there, and and Steph up there in the front. Just being able to have this community here has been extremely powerful and helpful for me too. The victim liaisons helped me sit down and map out my options of whether or not I was going to go back through trial with this. And bottom line is I couldn't do it because it just was too stressful to me and too traumatizing to even think about it. So I just let it go. Unfortunately, I can't control where he is, or I don't get the benefit of knowing where he is for sure. And there's no stipulations on him. He doesn't have a record anymore. And that's been a hard pill to swallow. So I'm a little bit angry at the Supreme Court. I did write a letter to them, and I got a letter back from one of them saying, I hear you. So that was, validating anyway. Again, it's just a lot of hope for survivors. And, I'm asked all the time why I do what I do. And I do it for the little kids that don't have a voice, the ones that are crying themselves to sleep because somebody just attacked them in horrible ways. I do it for the teenagers that are too afraid to speak up. I do it for the men who have confided in me. I do it for my family. I do it for me, and I do it for you. And as I always speak, this was an event. It doesn't It doesn't define me, and it doesn't. I am so much more than what happened to me. And so I just happen to be willing and able to take the trauma and turn it around to use it for good. And so, you know, like I say all the time when I speak, it was an event. It doesn't define me. It doesn't define you. It doesn't define them. It's just an event, and it doesn't have to dictate our future, and I don't let it dictate my future. This is my husband. We've been married for 31 years on the 21st of this month. And, you know, I think that, you know, if anything else, we're just proof that you can get through it, that there's life after rape. And I do believe that we're stronger together than apart, and we're stronger because of the things that we've gone through. And, you know, I definitely don't wish it on anybody, and I wish that it hadn't happened to us. But, you know, love conquers a multitude of evil. And then this is kind of exciting. I haven't told anybody this. So this is my friend Stuart and his wife. And Stuart has graciously agreed to help me to get together a self-defense course for Jane Doe No More. And so I'll be able to, with him and his wife, go into schools again and show people how they can defend themselves. I did take some self-defense courses through the Red Willow Center here in Missoula, and Mike Norvell was the teacher, but he gave me the ability to walk down the street and not fear. And so I want that for every student who feels like they're bullied, or somebody that feels like they're being you know, sexually attacked, or, you know, just the ability to be able to be more aware of their surroundings and do things that maybe will help them so that they're not in a situation at some point where they need to fight for their life. And so anyway, just watch for that. I'm very excited about that. And we're coming to a close, and I just want you to know what my contact information is. You can talk to me anytime. My email address is barb@janedonomore.org. My phone number is here. It's 240-9648. And, you know, this picture was just taken about a month ago. It says she took a deep breath and whispered to her soul, "You've got this." And I've got this, and other people have got this. And I want to share with other survivors that they've got it too, and they're not alone. And so that's why we're here. We're not here to steal pie from other organizations. We're here to share ours. And so, yeah, that's it. Monica?
Thank you, Miss Barbie. Someone, Pamela Christie says, love Barbie's Law. Right after you said that you're more than that. Yes, you are, I said, and you know that. You are so amazing. Thank you again for sharing your story, Jen Buckley. Amanda says, that is so great. Kim Doherty said, you are amazing. Connie McDonald, I am so grateful that you are in my circle. You are amazing.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Anybody have questions for Miss Barbie? Patty says, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for all you do, Maria.
So I went to a training in Great Falls recently with Brian Fisher. You guys had him on here just a couple months ago, and it was incredible. I went to Great Falls for that training, and I think it was helpful for him because he got to have a real survivor in his class, able to just, you know, interject, hey, you know, when I was going through this, this is what I was thinking, and this is what I was feeling, and maybe give them an idea. This is really crazy, you guys, but I'm going to tell you, one of the worst parts of my story is the fact that when I was asked about the penetration, I couldn't answer the question because of the way that it was phrased to me. And so I was able to actually talk to, I know it sounds crazy, like we all know our bodies, but at that particular time, I had so much trauma brain that I could not focus enough to figure out what it was that I was being asked. And that was used against me in the long run, but it's okay. I still know the truth. But Brian was amazing, and it was so wonderful just to partner with him in that way. And he's told me that I can go to the one here at the end of September in Missoula too, which is, you know, I'm really excited because I want to connect more and more with the community.
Let's see, I got a couple more thank yous, one from Jenny and from Tamara C. And I think that's it, sweetheart. Thank you very much for sharing with us today. We always are grateful to have you on board.
Well, thank you. If anybody wants
And
to,
I look forward to seeing you soon. I hope Shelby opens up for us so that we can be live and in person.
I know I miss going in live and in person. So it's been refreshing to go to the Helena pre-release. So, well, I love you guys. Thank you.
Love you too. Talk soon.
Okay, bye.